Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Niels, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest news in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week we have with us Krister.
Hello.
Hello there, Krister. Have you had fun with Update 37.2?
I have had some fun and some unfun.
Some fun and unfun. Well, then.
But the unfun was mainly my fault, so I can't really.
Then let's go and discuss what was in Update 37.2, which was released on Tuesday, October 3rd. And the Corsairs of Umbar is now available for pre-purchase. We will go more onto that when we discuss the pre-purchase options that we have, and it's the usual thing that we have in there. But as for what's new in Update 37.2, on top of that, the Mariner has been released. Yes, so now we did get the shanties released. Mariners are confident melee fighters who wield swords deftly and challenge the forces of evil. Mariners have an innate sense of the flow of combat and use their balance to adjust their fighting style to the best fit the moment. Mariners also know how to use combinations of individual movements to create powerful skill chains. In Fellowships, Mariners can use shanties to coordinate and motivate their allies, as well as craft strange concoctions to confound and disrupt foes. As for balance, Mariners use a forward-backward system called balance, in that the three main states are aftward, steady, and forward. You will adjust to a steady state, or default to a steady state, and the skills that you use will push your balance forward or aftward. Watch out, though, that if you find yourself too far in either end of the balance spectrum, you become unbalanced and will need to quickly move back towards steady, lest you find yourself penalized for remaining off balance. As for swordplay, Mariners are practiced melee combatants, and their swordplay skills can be used to create chains of skill combos. Every individual swordplay skill will give you a short buff on your last used swordplay skill, which will enhance one or more other swordplay skills. For example, using thrust will improve step back or advance if you use one of those directly after a thrust. On the thrust skill tooltip, you'll also notice that it says Advance applies a bleed in red text. That indicates that there is a trait in the red line tree that will give thrust that swordplay combo effect. Swordplay effects only impart your next used swordplay skill. So if you use Riposte, then Blade Shield, and Blade Shield swordplay combo effect will override the one gained by Riposte. However, non-swordplay skills will not overwrite these effects, so you can use haversack skills or shanty skills without breaking a swordplay combo chain. Did you get all that?
That was a lot of Mariner-based information.
Yes. Yes. Essentially, then that means if you use a sword type skill in it, what they do is every sword type skill says you'll buff this other skill if it's the next skill that you use, or I should say if it's the next swordplay skill you use. So very often I will see myself giving a thrust and then following it with an advance.
But you can always swerve into a shanty and then swerve back. Right? So.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you do a swordplay skill and do a shanty, then that buff is still active.
Perfect.
So because it says if you do a swordplay skill, then the next swordplay skill you do, things like shanties will not interrupt the flow of there. I guess you're singing while you're going into there.
Well, what I'm feeling like the Mariner is a really violent bartender who's either drunk all the time or has inner ear imbalance that causes the problem for balance. The concoctions thing is kind of interesting. Is that going to be in the moment concoctions, or can they actually make something equivalent to?
They're in the moment concoctions.
Okay.
For example, there's one that they have in their haversack line, which is called Breath of Fire. And as the name implies, that means that under the right conditions, a mariner is able to breathe fire.
That would be a pretty useful skill, honestly.
Yes. So that's something that you can do. Now, I noticed that there's also one called Breath of Frost. I guess that must come later on. I can.
See, now even more. Now I'm feeling that this is totally a bartender. He can ice your drink, or he can light it on fire. Depending on what you ordered.
so, so you're the ship's bartender then.
That would be great. And we have to come up with some kind of Love Boat equivalent show with River Hobbits and Mariners starring. So.
Okay. Also, the Mariner has 3 trait specializations: the Shanty Caller, the Duelist, and the Rover. For the Shanty Caller is a group support specialist with a focus on maximizing group damage. This line is billed as a direct counterpart to the Captain's Master of War Red line. Specializing in the Shanty Caller tree gives you access to a number of otherwise unavailable shanty skills and will make all of your shanties more potent. Skills like the West Wind and Guided by the Stars will benefit your group, while skills like Mark Foes and Breaking of Vangaraldrim will cause your enemies to take more damage from all your allies. And I discovered it was either today or yesterday where I discovered that they have an equivalent for the Inspire skill, I think. Oh, yeah, Motivate. Yeah, they have a Motivate skill. And in fact, I found that it was worth me because I was in red line and I'd say, okay, I so much need this, and Motivate was on the top of the blue line tree. So I just say, all right, that's worth 2 skill points to get that, because 10% extra morale, plus I didn't have any heals at the time, so.
And I'm assuming it was like the other stuff where if you can't have a Mariner and a Captain Inspire up at the same time, it's one or the other.
Well, it gives the motivated buff, which I think is the same buff that captains have. So therefore,
okay,
right. So yes, I think they're mutually exclusive because they both give the same buff, and I don't think you get 2 copies of that buff.
Feels like the Mariners are coming after my job.
Yes. See, you're the land captain; they're the sea captain. At least that's the only thing I could figure out on the matter. For the Duelist is a flexible melee fighter focused on maximizing your on damage output while retaining a flexible kit of skills to help you avoid damage and escape unwinnable engagements. A Duelist sacrifices most of the group support potential found in other specializations, but gains much improved swordplay damage and effectiveness. Now, I think I've gotten to the point where I'm mastering dealing out large amounts of damage. It's all these things were switching over to reduce damage and escape skills. Those I haven't figured out in the slightest whatsoever.
Well, sometimes it's a journey. Sometimes you have to take the journey. First you learn to destroy, then you learn to build.
Right. And yeah, so therefore I am working on that a little bit on there. And the third one is called the Rover. I accidentally called that Haversack instead. But yes, this is the Rover. The Rover is a group support specialist with a focus on controlling and debuffing enemies and helping to keep the group alive. This line is a direct counterpart to the Lore Master's Ancient Master and the Burglar's Mischief Maker specializations. Specializing in the rover tree will give you access to a number of potent debuffing and CCing skills and that are otherwise unavailable. Though the rover still gains several unique swordplay combos, most of their unique skills and effects are gained through haversack skills and things like breathing fire and stuff like that. But anyway, those are the 3 lines on there. As for any questions on the Mariner before I continue?
Well, I'm having, of course, I'm highly amused by some of these concepts when I try to rationalize them. So I think it's funny. I think it's really kind of funny where you can have like, okay, so now, this Mariner over here, well, he specializes in his haversack. Okay, what do you mean? Well, he's very good at operating a sack. And so maybe that's the difference, if you think about it, maybe the big difference between modern society on Earth right now and ancient society is that we inherently know how to operate sacks. So sorry, I love that shanties are now. I feel this impending shanty apocalypse, and now the sacks are coming into play too. What's next? What's next? These sack wielding, shanty singing guys are trying to muscle in on my territory. Okay, you guys stay out there on the boat. Okay. I'll take care of the land. Okay.
The Saxons are invading.
That's awesome. Hide your sacks.
Now, one of the things I'm still trying to figure out is in relation to what goes in the range slot, where I would have thought that haversacks, because that's going to be your second legendary item, I would have thought that would go into the class item slot, but for some reason the ones that are sold by the class trainer at low levels, they're going into the range slot. But the range slot is where also the musical instrument goes. And wait, I can't have the musical instrument equipped at the same time as the haversack, and okay, that's going to be a little bit of a problem.
Well, is it because the sack if the sack gives you the frost breath and the fire breath, those are technically ranged attacks, right?
Well, no, yeah, but I'm talking about maybe, but I would have thought that it would go into the class item list, especially considering that what if you don't want to, whenever you play a shanty, what if you don't want to pull out a lute, that you want to pull out a different instrument? You want to have an instrument equipped, right?
You just have to keep it in your inventory, And the only thing I could think they wouldn't even trade out for anyways is that little kind of accordion thing that they play.
Well, a concertina would. Actually, they really should have concertinas in game, and of course, mariners will being able to use them automatically if they do. So that means whenever you have a shanty, you pull out your concertina and start playing it. I think it'll be. And in fact, I would think that if the concertina is in play, that the concertina should be the default instrument that the mariner pulls out instead of a lute, because lute, of course, is the default for a minstrel. So
I'm thinking cowbell myself.
Cowbell.
A bunch of mariners singing sea shanties with cowbells. I think that is literally one of the things that's going to happen at Signal that the world's ending.
Right. Let's go into class changes. For buff interactions, for Oathbreaker's Shame, the Breaking of Thongaroldrim, and Murder of Crows, incoming damage debuffs no longer stack with one another. The Oaths Fulfilled effect has been renamed to Renewed Defenses and will prevent another potent buff from being applied for 45 seconds. I think we discussed that either last week or the week before that.
Yep, yeah.
Yes.
Such a bummer.
I know, But you could just say, well, at least it's only 45 seconds before the.
Yeah, which can or cannot feel like eternity, depending on what you're doing in the raid.
That's what you're doing in the raid, right? As for Caustic Brew, Ancient Craft, and Trickster, each apply a major rent armor and will not stack with one another. All right. And Pitch Pot and Sticky Tar each apply minor rent armor and will not stack with one another. So Pitch Pot then is effectively Sticky Tar. I guess then if I use Pitch Pot, we'll see tar on the ground like when a Lore Master does something similar then.
Yeah. So everything I'm hearing here totally makes sense in terms of.
Yeah.
But now it feels okay. So now I felt like the Mariners trying to elbow me out. Now what about the Lore Masters? Mariners don't have pets, though, do they? They don't have pets.
No. Mariners do not have pets.
Okay.
But the hunters will complain about mariners having ports.
Probably. No, is it just a self port or is it?
No. They could bring their fellowship with them. I guess it's almost as if they brought you along on a boat, maybe, because the ports.
It's a press gang.
I can just imagine. It's
How'd I end up here? I knocked you out and drug you onto the boat.
Yes, they're all called Sail 2, and every single one of them is along the water or close to the water. Thus, for example, the first one you get is, well, it says Sarn Ford, but it's actually sending me to Tharbad. So apparently somebody got the river wrong when they did that.
I bet you, I'm going to bet money right now it's the same person who programmed the goats in Moria. that
they went up the Horwell instead of the Brandywine.
Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean it's the wrong river? Oh, okay. Let's just file this and go. I need to go home.
Yes, and one of them, there is one that does bring you up the Brandywine to Buckleberry Ferry, and also another one that brings you to Tinadir, which is of course at Lake Evendem. There's eventually going to be one in Pelargir. So yes, and of course Lothlorien, which is another one, is along the Undoing. So I'd say that the Lothlorien one is probably going to drop you right where you'd want to go if you were getting ready to start Volume 2, Book 9 would be my best guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious now. Now that we're talking about everything the Mariners can do and the overlap with several classes, I wonder if it's to kind of to have a character that can bring back bring a skill set that maybe you're not seeing too much anymore just because of how groups are composed. Okay, so does the Mariner have an equivalent to the power regen for the Lore Master?
Oh, power regen? See, I did see one power regen skill. I can't remember whether that was a self power regen or if that was a potential group one. It's not one I'm emphasizing right now because I think I skipped it when I was selecting which skills to do. I don't think it's an automatic one. I think it's in one of the lines.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about. To think about what the real goal is with the Mariner. Is the Mariner to be able to have a more rounded part? Like if you're in a fellowship, it's a little more rounded because they touch on several different skill sets that usually were covered by a couple different classes.
Yeah, it's sort of your jack of all trades of LOTRO.
Which you thought, if you were thinking about jack of all trades of LOTRO before a Mariner, you were thinking of a captain. So, or I was thinking of a captain.
You were thinking of the captain. All right, let's go into specific classes then. The Bjorning. Improved Nature's Wrath should now correctly give 10 Wrath while dual wielding. Greater Bee Swarm should leave the regular Bee Swarm DOT behind when it expires. And Bjorning armor should now correctly be bartered for heavy rather than medium armor vendors in skirmish camps. Okay. It was always annoying seeing all those Bjorning armors, and whenever I look for medium armor in skirmish camps, yes. Burglars. Trickster tricks now apply major rent armor. Okay, we already talked about that, which is reducing all enemy mitigations by 10% for 20 seconds. And location is everything now increases critical chain skills damage rather than causing those skills to ignore some enemy mitigations. Oh yes, another thing about the Mariner that I just remember when thinking about the burglar is in some ways they're the anti-burglar, because you know how burglars can get positional extra damage when they're behind an opponent?
Yep.
Yes. And the Mariner can trait to have additional positional bonuses when they're in front of the enemy, because they like to face enemies face on.
But sometimes they'll face them moving afterward.
Well, no, they don't get the bonus in that case. Champions. Champion advantage now increases blade skills damage rather than causing those skills to ignore some enemy mitigations. Damage for champion's blade skills has been increased by 8%, and damage for champion's strike skills has been increased by 20%. So stay out of the Cuisinart then. For Guardians, bolstering blocks can now only proc once per second. This entirely passive heal was capable of generating more HPS than intended for the Guardian, and was not in line with reactive healing available in other tank specializations. Damage for most Guardian skills has been reduced by 5%. Now, I was actually playing a Guardian today. I ran one skirmish with it, and I don't know, I felt more like I was doing 5% damage instead of minus 5% damage. It was like, I said, I'm not hitting it. I feel like I was doing more damage to myself than I was doing to the enemies or something, because my morale bar was going down, and my damage is, all right, 12 hits in order to kill this enemy. Now 12 hits. I mean, I felt
that
like
sounds like a return to the old thought about the Guardian. So yeah, they can sit there and take it, but it's going to take forever for them to do it.
I wasn't even taking it. I was getting turned into ribbons. And I was in red line, so I was getting cut to ribbons, but I was not dishing it out at all. Most likely I was poorly traded somehow, but I couldn't figure it out. Probably that shows you why I don't play the Guardian. Because of how badly I trade myself. Yes, Rupture has been corrected to a 10-second duration at slightly reduced potency, and negative combat states will no longer remove the Guardian's protection by the shield toggle skill. As for the Hunter, Modkin arrows now increase induction skill damage rather than causing Hunter skills to ignore some enemy mitigations. And damage for most Hunter skills has been increased by 15%. So therefore, that means, yes, that means that champions and hunters got more damage output and guardians got less damage output during this update.
And I don't think the Guardians could really afford to get less at this point. So,
well, that I don't know, but that was. But anyway, that was the first time I tried Guardian for a while, and it sounds like it's going to be a long time before I try it again after what happened there. So let's then head into the Lore Master. Murder Crow's debuff is now 10% miss chance, but 20% incoming damage, and does not stack with Oathbreakers or the breaking of Thangaroldrim. And what could be useful in this on Murder Crows, because it's one of the heaviest damaging skills and has this 20% incoming damage bonus to it. That means throwing Murderer Crows onto a Daywalker Berserker. Because before, when it was only a 10% damage bonus, I just see the damage bar on the morale bar slowly ticking down on it, because the Daywalker Berserker has this 100% damage protection thing. And we had the 10% bonus, so I'm doing 10% damage as a result of that. Now 20% damage. Maybe I could actually kill a Daywalker Berserker that's shielded. I'll have to experiment with that.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
That'd be interesting on there. And Ancient Craft now removes 5% of all enemy mitigations rather than armor rating. Enfeeble will increase this amount to 15% for 10 seconds and 10% thereafter. Now, for the first Forester event, all movement bonuses are now suppressed as they should be. The sinking issue with the event should be solved. All of the Forester tools that can be made and upgraded as part of this event have been made account bound. The Forester event will now run regardless of participants every 21 minutes. The quest for the Forester event will no longer invoke the Mithril coin reset or on failure or canceling. There was a non-race condition in this quest that caused the quest to fail in the second step. This has been rectified, and Guardians were able to bypass the speed restrictions in the Forester event with Sprint. This has been remedied. I guess that was covered in number 1. All Sprint bonuses are now suppressed. So anyway, because of this, the Forester event is going to return on Friday, October 13th. I mean, what could go wrong on an October Friday the 13th?
I can already feel the tension building in Mordor. You can just feel it.
As for miscellaneous changes, the Pure Seagull cosmetic pet now sounds like a seagull.
I wonder what it sounded like before.
I think it sounded like a raven.
Oh. Or something for like a Moomak or something. That would have been awesome.
No. It at least sounded like a bird. Several avatar clothing models that had missing textures and were displaying as white are now fixed. Warsteed combat fidgets now correctly play only in combat. Why would you want your Warsteed to fidget in combat?
They're
combat fidgets. Okay, they're combat fidgets.
No, yeah, because I was noticing that with my Warsteed when I was just sitting there. He was agitated, stomping all around and everything. So I recall I could do that if I did the smoky mode, and your Warsteed will become agitated.
All right. So that's the thing, is if you're not in combat, then they only have non-combat fidgets, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Level 130 shrews should no longer be able to sneak into the instance Humble Beginnings, because we don't want level 130 shrews killing your level 1 river hobbits.
You're saying the shrews kill these people? But you gotta understand, these shrews, I don't know, went to university or something. They're smart. They're powerful. I'm glad. I just want to say, finally, I'm very happy that in our real world, we do not have to encounter or deal with level 130 shrews.
You think there'll be a bit of a problem?
I would imagine it would be possibly mankind's biggest adversary on the planet. It would be the level 130s.
especially if they were as common as shrews are in LOTRO, or as regular shrews are in certain areas.
Oh, I bet they'd be powerful enough to develop super shrews. They just have they'd be able to double their population every 3 weeks or something.
Then we'd really be in trouble. Sarah Beth Lobanks has found her name again. Good. And the following emote animations have been updated for River Hobbits to use Hobbit versions of these animations: cheer, laugh, lol, mock, and wave.
I wonder if that was causing any weirdness. Was it actually triggering on the model that's like a bigger, and so
No,
it was
what?
exaggerating? Or
The only thing is that they were doing the ones that are done by humans is what they were doing before. And a lot of people were complaining because they wanted to see Hobbit laughs instead of human laughs on the River Hobbits.
I think the dwarven sigh would be pretty awesome on a river hobbit too.
Have I ever seen a dwarven sigh?
Yeah, it's the one where the dwarf goes, "Oh."
All right. As for known issues, the French language version of the Mariner introductory video in character generation has a freezing issue. This video will transition back to character creation, or players can cancel the video without issue. So we hope they fix that one so that you'll be able to listen to the intro video in French. And Mariner known issues, because first week of release, there's always a little thing or two there. And Mariner pot skills list incorrect effects durations for Caustic Brew, Fire Pot, Pitch Pot, and Sludge Pot. There are currently some tooltip issues with the traits Test Defenses, Rare Ingredients, and the skill Belly of Brine not displaying properly. The Mariner class steed's spitting techniques is not properly advancing when Breath of Ice is used. Because you should get double for spitting out ice cubes, right?
Maybe they could put a spittoon in the range slot for me.
And Mariner skills Advance and Sweeping Advance display Dramatic Flourish critical magnitude buff, but should display Dramatic Flourish critical buff potency. And that is it for the release notes for update 37.2, which brought out the Mariner, the newest class for the Lord of the Rings Online. But, of course, linked with the Mariners is the pre-purchase to the next expansion of the Lord of the Rings Online, the Corsairs of Umbar. And if you want to know how much it's going to cost, well, if you guess that'll be pretty similar to what it was for the last few expansions, then you would be correct. And as in other recent expansions, there are 3 different versions that you can get. You can get a standard version, the collector's edition, and of course, the ultimate fan bundle. Have you made a purchase yet, or are you?
No, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and then I'll just go ahead and buy probably the mega one. So I better have my own ship. That's all I have to say. I better be HMS Krister floating out there.
No, that's not going to happen.
I can dream.
I should tell you that there are upgrade options available, so that if you bought a lower one, you could upgrade later to the higher one if you wished. But
gotcha. Yeah, right.
Okay. Let's go over what you get through each of these packages. Let's start with the standard edition, where you will get surprise, surprise, the Corsairs of Umbar content, which would be, of course, a huge number of quests and all of that. There are, let's see, chart you're on. Actually, that's Mariner. Discover the bustling Corsair haven with sun-kissed shores. Meet the shadow of the dark bannered ships and tales of legendary raids echo through the vibrant port. So, yes, and over 350 unique quests. Venture deep into Umbar's heart, navigating the political intrigues and ancient mysteries as the formidable kindred of the coins rise, threatening the fragile peace that King Alessar and Queen Arwen have fought so hard to achieve. And of course, you'll charge into an increased level 150 cap, dive into pulse-pounding instances and gain access to an exciting new raid and prepare for the adventure like no other. I believe as often you get in instant packages, I think there will be 2 3-player instances, 1 6-player, and of course the raid. So most likely, as usual, the raid is probably going to be released in the next update after it, because it's rare that the raid is ready when the rest of the expansion is ready.
Do we have any idea of what the raid is about?
I'm going to guess that it's going to be somewhere in Umbar, but outside of that, I have absolutely no idea.
They pull a fast one. It's a sequel to Trouble in Tuckborough.
A sequel to A Trouble in Tuckborough? In Umbar?
Well, that's why they pulled a fast one. We think we're in Umbar, but no, we're in Tuckborough. Why are we in Tuckborough? Well, it'd be too expensive to go to Umbar.
Aha. Is.
So the hope would be that it would have, like maybe it's a raid during a gigantic ship battle or something.
All right. Anyway, so you get the Corsairs Umbar content, as I said before, and the instance bundle, as usual in there. Let's see, I'm trying to see if they talk about the instance bundle anywhere in here. Okay, I can't find that. So let's then go into what else you get. You also get the Mariner class. So yes, all 3 packages will include the Mariner class with them. An extra character slot, so that if you have all of your slots filled, then you wanted to play a Mariner, you don't have to delete one of your existing characters in order to do it.
Is that true even in Sand situation?
Yeah, if you have them all purchased, usually when they do this extra slot is a new one that's uniquely associated with the purchase of the
package. I got you. Okay.
That's the same thing they did with the River Hobbit also, is the River Hobbit packages included a character slot one, and the idea there is they have these new extra character slots that are associated with it.
Okay, good, because I never want to have Sands have to confront which of her 10 captains she needs to delete to free up a slot for a new character.
I have a suspicion that she doesn't have 10 captains.
I was just being a smarty pants. I am just thoroughly impressed that she has the number of characters that she does. So.
Yes. And you also get the Swashbuckler's portrait frame and the Swashbuckler title.
Have you seen the frame yet? Does it look good?
I took a quick look at the frame. And in fact, I saw at least one person who was using that frame when I was in Mossword. I did see a Mariner who was using the Swashbuckler portrait frame in there. I only took a quick look at it, so I remember what it looks like, but I cannot for the life of me describe it to you. I think it's sort of brownish with with circles surrounding it in there. I'm not quite sure what it has to do with swashbuckler.
Yeah, I don't know what that could be. That could be a Snickers bar right there. I don't.
But anyway, so essentially what you're getting is the content associated with Corsairs of Umbar plus the Mariner class and titles and stuff like that go along with it. That's the standard edition. Then we have, and that of course, that is for $39.99. Now for $79.99, you can get the collector's edition, and this of course includes everything in the standard edition, plus it also includes the Fleet Merchant's armor and the Fleet Merchant's steed and war steed. Essentially, anything with Fleet Merchant in its name is part of the collector's edition. The Fennec Fox Pet, equipable XP accelerator to 140. This is an earring, so similar to what we've had in earlier expansions. So you could wear this earring and it gives you stats plus 25% XP boost.
Oh, does it give you that up to 150 though? Or
no, it says 140.
Okay.
But that's the way it's always been. It's always been up to the starting class of the expansion.
Yeah, okay.
The starting level, I mean, of the expansion. So yes, thus in the previous one for Gundabad, the piece of jewelry would be accelerated until you get to 130. So same thing here. Improved expedition supplies. We go later on what the expedition supplies include. Swashbuckler's portrait frame, and the title in there, and also the Fleet Merchant's portrait frame and title. Now, as for the improved expedition supplies, this includes the improved expedition supplies, as usual with expedition supplies. While everything else that I mentioned goes to all your characters, the improved expedition supplies, as usual with expedition supplies, only goes to the first qualified character that you log into after making your purchase. And this includes 5 reputation acceleration tomes, a virtue XP accelerator, 100% XP accelerator, 5 of those, and 5 rare crafting components. And that's what you have in the collector's edition. So essentially, some Fleet Merchants cosmetics, an additional portrait frame and title.
You had me at War Steed.
The War Steed. Well, don't you want to see what it looks like before you decide whether or not you want the...
I don't care. I want it.
War State appearance?
I want it now. Give it to me.
All right. And for the and you can get that for $79.99. But if you're the Ultimate fan, then you can get the Ultimate Fan Bundle for $129.99. And that includes everything in the collector's edition, plus Tidebreaker stuff, meaning you get the Tidebreaker's raiment, the Tidebreaker steed and war steed, the parrot pet.
Oh, a parrot.
Yeah, so you can have a parrot follow you around. Now, a thing about I'm trying to remember whether it's the Fleet Merchant set or I think it's the Tidebreaker set, is the shoulders on the Tidebreaker set. If you equip it instead of putting it into a cosmetic slot, I know it's a cosmetic piece, so you'll be giving up stats if you do this. But if you equip the Tidebreaker's shoulder piece, there will be a parrot sitting on top of your shoulder.
Aha! See, this was part of our speculations.
Yeah.
About the parrots. So.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's going to be the parrots sound like there's going to be fewer parrots than opposed to parrots everywhere, which is probably good.
Well, you could, yeah. Well, the parrot pet, the regular parrot pet, that follows you like any other parrot. So there could be
Right, but the
no,
parapet's not going to be on your shoulder. That's
no, that
the
parrot pet's not going to be on your shoulder. Just the one that's replacing your shoulder armor.
would be cool is if you could have the parapet out and have it on one shoulder, and then have that other parrot on the other shoulder. That would be pretty cool.
Well,
Double
that's
parrot.
unlikely going to happen. You also get the Tidebreaker's weapon aura. And you get the swashbuckle emote. And Fibro Jedi did post a YouTube video that shows the swashbuckle emote on there, where you do a little flashing display with your sword before going into a pose at the end of it.
Cool. Okay, that sounds kind of cool.
All right, and then the monster play appearance. So I don't know what monster play appearance is in there, since I did not check that out. So I suppose that if you go into the appropriate monster type, you'll find out what it is. I'm sure the PvP people, they know by now what the monster play appearance is on this, because I've got no idea which one. Are there any? Yeah, I can't think of any monster class that sounds like it would be associated with the water, because that would be the one that I would guess would be the most likely one to it, because I can't imagine a. Let's see, the spider, the orc,
A sea spider. Well, the spiders do. They run around in the water. Just water.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure which monster play appearance is affected by that. Perhaps.
What's more important to me too is that, okay. So now we have shanties. So if we have on the monster play side, what is the opposite of a shanty? Is it an anti shanty?
Didn't we discuss this last week?
Did we with monster play? I don't know
okay,
if we were touching on the monsters. If they were singing the equivalent of a shanty, wouldn't it be a perverted shanty? So that if it's like that, and that sounds maybe like industrial music, maybe.
Industrial music. Yeah, that'd be about as far as I could think of from a shanty, I guess. Then we also have the fleet merchant stuff that we discussed in the collector's edition, and also we have the ultimate expedition supplies. And the ultimate expedition supplies is similar to the expedition supplies in that you get only one of these to the first character you log into after doing the order, and this is going to give you 15,000 Virtue XP, a Virtue XP accelerator times 4, so you get 4 of those. That's in addition to, I guess, to the one that you got with the improved expedition supplies. And the ultimate carry-all selection box, where you can select any one carry-all of your choice.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So if you can think of a carry-all that would be just perfect for your character or whatever, that's where you can toss it. And that is... Oh, yes, one more thing does come with the Ultimate Fan Pack, and that is again, to the first character you log into afterwards, there will be a 140 Valor. So obviously you could trade that, send that to whichever character is on the server that you want to actually have the Valor done on them. So the usual thing they get with the Valor is, of course, moved at the level 140, so you'll be all set and ready in there. And I'm trying to think of what character would be best for me to Valor up to 140. Because I have 6 characters at 140, and that means I have 6 classes that don't have a 140 character. I'm just trying to think, okay, which of those 6 classes am I going to Valor up? I don't know if you have any great ideas on that. Yeah,
because I would just assume that maybe I don't know though. It might not be fun to Valor up the Mariner.
Hey, because one possibility is the Mariner, but I want to at least experience the Mariner
Yeah,
through
that's kind of what I was thinking too.
class quests. So I want to do all of the Mariner class quests before I Valorant. And the last class quest that you get is what about level 105, 107, I guess, somewhere in that range. It's in Mordor. The class quest you have before you cross into Udun. I mean, from Udun into Gorgoroth itself. So that means I have to get myself all the way up to 100 and do that quest, and
then you could Valor, yeah.
then I can Valor up to 140.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that works on. The other choices I was wondering is, do I do it with the captain or probably not with a guardian, probably not with a champion. I'm not much into all that much into pure melee classes. I know the captain in a way is also, but at least the captain is more of a support class than a melee class in some ways.
Yeah, and I mean the nice thing about the captain is the captain has a lot of flexibility in that role. The herald really helps with that, and then of course you can just keep yourself healed, and that's a big one.
So I will have to think about on which one I want to. I suspect I'm just going to hold on to this until I get my Mariner to 100 and then bypass all that 110 to 140 content. We'll see what happens. We'll see where my Mariner is when we get around close to November 1st, which is, oh yes, that's it. I should mention that. Yes, they are expecting to release the Corsairs of Umbar on November 1st. This is, of course, barring unforeseen events and stuff like that. So, any questions about the expansion?
No, I just know. Thank you for describing the last one because now I know what I'm getting. So.
Oh, oh, 2 sets.
I want to know. Okay, so between the top tier and the next one down, do you get both War Steed cosmetics?
Yeah, of course, you get both of them.
Excellent. Okay, good.
Yeah,
that's my main concern. The cosmetics.
That's
sad,
your main concern on the War Steed cosmetics. That's your main concern on the whole thing.
I love my War Steed. I love it. I love going around. It just makes me mad that I can't trample things in all zones. And especially because what makes me really, really mad is I can't trample you. No.
Wonderful. You just want to trample all over me.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's
Steeds were made for.
They were. The heavy War Steed was definitely made for trampling. It's a beautiful sight to see your enemy fly high up in the air and far, far away.
All right. Here we are. It is, yes, two. I talked about the instances later, and yes, it is 2 3-player instances, 1 6-player instance, and a new raid. Yes, that is. Those are the numbers that they were quoting earlier. All right, cool. So that is it. Pre-purchases are now open for the Corsairs of Umbar. And they're on sale now, and when you purchase it, you will be able to play the Mariner. If you don't care about playing the Mariner and are patient, then you can always wait to buy it when the content becomes available. For those who are really patient and have no characters anywhere near 140, you probably wait till it's available for LOTRO points in 6 months after the release. And that's it for pre-orders. Now, there is also a note in there, just in case you are playing a Mariner and you're wondering, where are the class trainers? They don't have all the class trainers out yet. They're busy training the trainers. But they do have one in Bree. Now, I've not met the one in Bree yet, so I can't tell you where in Bree this trainer is, because the only one I've spoken to is the one that's in Tinadir.
I think maybe skirmish camp or.
Yeah, not as but usually you don't find trainers in skirmish camps. At least you find skirmish trainers there, but you don't find class trainers there. And I've been to the Bree skirmish camp, so I know. And they don't send you to the class trainer in Bree when you do your first class quest. Instead, the quest comes from Barleyman Butterbur.
Oh, I wonder if it's the crafting hall, maybe then.
I'm wondering because one possibility is because they have a congregation of class trainers in the jail, for example. So
You're right. Yep. Yep.
So I'm thinking there's a possibility there that's the most likely place. That'll be the first place that I would check. In fact, half likely, if the class trainer had a little bit too much to drink, they might be in the jail. I mean, that's always a possibility because they're in there to sober up or something like that. But for me, it's easier to go to the class trainer that's in Tinadir not only because that's where you have your level 30 class quest, but once you hit level 35, you get a port to Tinadir. And with the port to Tinadir, and you got a class trainer in Tinadir, that works out very well. So that's it. As there are at least 2 class trainers available right now, one in Bree and one in Tinadir, and that's where you can get your low-level haversack or your low-level musical instruments that are in there. There aren't too many Mariner musical instruments that are available right now, but you can get a couple of them from your class trainer, just in case you wanted to switch out which musical instrument you wanted to use. And that's it for our news and LOTRO this week. So let's go into events. And that is that Hopnanigans is here until October 8th.
Woohoo!
Does that mean that you've gone and went out of your way to play some Hopnanigans?
I dealt with my chickens a long time ago.
Oh, okay. You dealt with your chickens already. All right. And we also have a 25% XP boost until October 9th. And believe me, that has been helping my Mariner go up the levels. For next weekend, the Harvest Mass Festival will be opening on October the 12th. So get ready to head into the Haunted Burrow or wherever you plan to go on that matter. Or into that. I keep on forgetting the name of the new area that they have for the Harvest Math Festival.
It's been too long, yeah.
It's been too long in there. So, Harvest Math Festival, that will open up on October 12th. And as I said before, the Forester Crafting event, we hope, the first full time through this event will start on October 13th, and it should last 10 days. And that is it for that. So let's head to our store sales. Krister, what's on sale this week?
Well, it sounds like it's time to throw out your current legendary and get a new one. Legendary item tracery leveling and unslotting is now 50% off in game. And this mithril cost reduction continues through 12 p.m. Eastern through to October 16th. And then, of course, as we are looking forward to this new expansion, we're looking forward to starting a new journey. So you're going to get 20% off character slots, vet status, stat packages, XP boosts, and that is through October 12th. And the weekly coupon is for our free tome of tracking. Coupon code is TRACK, and that is available through October 12th.
Whee!
Yeehaw!
So let's look into our week in gaming. Krister, what were you up to last week?
Well, we assembled on Friday, and it was a very joyous occasion as we had our old kin leader and one of our old dear kinmates return. We got together a 6-man, and we went and decided to do the featured instance. However, by the time we reached the last boss, we realized the problem that we were having because we were just dying in droves. And the realization was Narraband is one of the instances that where was it light? The light is a factor, and so none of us had light gear on anymore, of course, because that was many levels ago, and so they were doing 70% more damage to us as a result.
I thought that when you get past level 115, every level you got 1% light bonus or something like that, or
Maybe we did. Well, that would make sense because we had like a light of 80, but that was still in the negatives. You needed like 150, so we were like a negative 70%, and so that was giving us.
All right. So it helped to mitigate what you were going through.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been even much worse if we didn't have that. But that's what was so funny about it, because it was like, okay, well, the thought was, well, why can't we have, if you guys are going to serve these up as featured instances, we should maybe at the very least be able to go into our perks and be able to perk the appropriate mitigating factor, So if we didn't have the gear for light, we could go into at least maybe spend some perk points and get a temporary light boost while we were in that.
Out of curiosity, how often do you find anything useful in the perk points?
Well, that would be they used to be useful. They used to be useful to me, but I have to admit I haven't used them in a very long time.
Okay.
It used to be to squeeze out a little bit extra hope, or a little bit more mitigation, but just hadn't need. But now, of course, now the thing is, I think we're still kind of settling into the fact that power is now a factor again. Where you have to actually be thinking about it, and it's been kind of interesting. So you wonder if maybe the perks, maybe the power orienting perks. I was thinking, I haven't thought this in a long time, is to run with my power herald and see if that might actually be beneficial nowadays too. But there maybe perks can make a comeback. But this would definitely do it. But then again, I have to, because I see where you're going with this, I have to understand that this Narraband situation is literally unique. I've never dealt with it, had it happen before. So how often am I going to use this anyways? So
probably not too often, considering that I don't think I've ever done Narraband ever since I finished doing Mordor.
Oh yeah, it'd been so long because a couple people couldn't get in. We couldn't even remember what the discovery quest or what you needed to do to activate it. But it was so even though it was frustrating, it was kind of fun to see that old that dungeon, because I remember that floor that you're running through that's on fire, and how you had to move through in stages, and it was a pretty intense. We used to do that quite a bit, so it was kind of nice from a nostalgia point to see that. So after we got to that last boss, we just died horribly over and over again, and so we gave up, like boy can do, and then we went ahead and crushed some vermin, and that felt much better. We had a much more productive end to the evening as a result of that. So, but looking forward to hopefully seeing more people on, and then maybe, who knows, every once in a while between us and Mythgard, we can get a raid going again too, because that would be a lot of fun, especially coming up with a new raid. It'd be really fun to be able to put something together and do it. And then I've been in ESO. They've released some new cosmetics, have a new festival, and I'm working on this theory I have now, because there's this like one set of armor that came out that had a bunch of different like skull helmets, and so of course it's like a Kohler faucet. I see the helmet and I have to design an entire armor set around it. So what I've experienced is the same thing I experienced when I built my Minotaur, which I see people come up to me that have the same helmet on. They come right up to me and they pause, and then they just lock off at that point. And my assumption is that I have they came up to me and they said, "Well, what's the point of me even trying this? I just saw perfection in cosmetics in ESO." So they just log off and delete their tunes and start again. And so I'm kind of working on this. I call it cosmetrics. So it's cosmetrics, the art of looking so good that other people delete their characters. It's just a working theory, but ESO is helping me explore it. And then this week was playing Starfield, and unfortunately, Starfield has like a game-ending bug that basically, if it happens, your game is permanently screwed, and you have to start again. And so I got to level 40, like finished the main storyline, was in the next phase, and I got that bug, and it ruined my save game. And so I started over again. I had it happen again at level 20, so then I just gave up and started cheating. so I'm a level 165 now, and I have all the resources I could ever want. And I don't regret anything. So what did you get up to this week, Mike?
All right, I will begin with my main mariner, who reached level 36 as I try to figure out how the new class works. So I've, of course, had a couple of visits with class trainers because I've done the first 2 class quests on there. One of which was the easiest class quest I ever had, and the other one was trying to challenge for the toughest one. So it was quite, or at least the toughest one in which I survived my first attempt. But that was by the skin of my teeth on there. So quite a contrast between the 2 on there. My Runekeeper joined Friday Night Fights this week to do some fellowship skirmishes, and we ran Breaching the Necromancer's Gate at Tier 3, Assault on the Ringwraith's Lair, also at Tier 3, and then ran Protectors of Thongohad at Tier 2. And for the field trip, we headed out into Mirkwood. We finished up our last couple of things that we needed to do in the Foundations of Stone. It says, bye-bye Moria, headed out to Mirkwood, and we're just getting ready to finish up the closing section of that where you say farewell to it. So we'll see what we exactly do, because we were thinking of maybe we could roll up some Mariners. We have to decide what we're going to do next week for the field trip. And that's my week in LOTRO. If you'd like to send us an email, you can send us an email at podcast@loachplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows each week. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we record Loach Players News, and we record DDO Players News when DRAC is available. If you'd like to listen to our live shows, you can go to loachplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight, and this is Finally Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.